Hello and welcome to World Talks on TVP World with me, Ashim Kumar. Talks on a US-brokered partial ceasefire in Ukraine are set to resume today in Saudi Arabia. Talks are expected to focus on Black Sea security and energy infrastructure. Meanwhile, discussions of an international peacekeeping force and European defence plans continue. What are the prospects for peace in Ukraine? Well, joining us to discuss that is Piotr Kaszuwara, President, UA Future Foundation. Welcome to TVP World,
Good morning.
Mr. Kaszuwara, and thank you for taking the time. So, what do you make of the talks so far, and what are we expecting from what's going to happen today?
You know, I can talk from a Ukraine perspective because I am here almost all the time. So I'm talking to the people, I'm listening to the people, and what everyone is saying, that Ukraine and the Ukrainian people are expecting peace, expecting the ceasefire. Ukraine accepted already all of the points that the President of the United States, Donald Trump, proposed in the past, that they said that the government said that Ukraine agree on every single point to get to the situation when the drones and the Russian rockets will stop bombing Ukrainian cities and killing people in the country in general. So this is the goal of Ukraine, to stop the war even for 30 days, and also to make the list of the targets that they shouldn't be targeted by the Russian attacks. And this is very important for Ukraine, to list all of the critical infrastructure like power plants, for example, but also the civil buildings, because as we mentioned before in the news, today again was the night full of Russian drone attacks on the Ukrainian cities, including Kiev. So almost every day we hear the fire alarms. Even right now, I'm in Sumy on the east of the country, very near the Kursk region. And just right now, we have a fire alarm. So we are expecting drones or rockets hitting us again.
What does this tell you, sir, about the Russian attitude towards peace talks?
We don't really see the attitude in Russia to end the war, and this is the big problem, because Russia, as we are here in Ukraine, that's my point of view, we do not see that Russia is searching for the common field of the ceasefire. For example, they are attacking cities every day. They are pushing Ukrainian citizens living on the occupied territories to take the Russian passports if they. So this is classical Russification of the territories. If they not gonna take the Russian passports, Russian documents, they need to leave the country. And this is the best actually option if they will be allowed to leave, because there is still a risk that they can be killed over there. Russia is continuing their way to occupy more territories of Ukraine. They are still saying that they want to take the control over Donbas region, over Zaporizhzhia region, over Kherson region.
It seems that that Russia isn't really coming to the table in good faith. What then do you think is the reason that they have agreed to these negotiations in Saudi Arabia?
The both sides are saying that they are trying to buy some time. Even Russia is saying that, but obviously everyone in Ukraine is searching for the time to relax, even for this short time. But Russia is definitely trying to buy time to mobilize more people in their country, to refresh their army at the front lines. And what we are observing, also since a while, is kind of Machiavelli, Nicola Machiavelli, the philosopher, way of the of the of the politics. Yeah. So Donald Trump, in one of his first speeches, told us that the most important thing for him is the reason of the state, of the United States. If he, when he was talking about the rare earth metals from Ukraine, and what he also showed us, but he's sometimes understandable moves in his politics, he is lightening also the reasons of this invasion, the real reasons of Putin's actions. And now we can notice that the main reasons are, money. The main
Understood.
reason is the money.
Understood. Mr. Kaszuwara, you mentioned Donald Trump. How would you assess Donald Trump's attitude towards the Ukrainian side compared to the Russian side in these negotiations that the U.S. is brokering?
For many Ukrainians, it's really not understandable why Donald Trump and his administration, mostly his administrations, is saying all of these things. We have heard here in Ukraine the interview given by Stephen Witkoff to the American media, and he was saying that very important for Russia is to take the control over the Russian-speaking territories. But these territories are still Ukrainian territories. They are written in the Ukrainian constitution as Ukrainian territories. There are still Ukrainians living on these territories, even they are the Russian speaking people, because even in Kiev, even in Lviv, even in Vinnytsia, in many Ukrainian cities, you can meet people who are speaking Russian, even right now. So the language is absolutely not a reason for these people. I have friends, soldiers, Ukrainian soldiers, many brigades, very radical sometimes nationalists, who are speaking Russian because they have been born with this language. We can hear from the
So how would you compare? How would
USA
you compare?
that the
Sorry, so I only have a few
voting.
minutes. I only have a couple of minutes. How would you compare the U.S. attitude towards Russia and Russia's demands with the response by Ukraine to the U.S. requirements for ceasefire? How would you compare the two? The U.S. approach. Hello?
Unfortunately, from that is a bit following the of Russia, following the narrative of Kremlin. We can't understand why here in Ukraine. We can't understand why it's happening, but I still believe, and many Ukrainians still believe, that Donald Trump and his administration has a plan. Maybe this is some weird diplomatic way, to check, to say I am checking, to Kremlin, and they are trying to see what Kremlin will do for all these propositions, what they will do with the proposition of ceasefire, for example, and maybe when they will use all of these arguments that they are using right now, saying, okay, we're gonna give you this territory, we're gonna give you that, we're gonna give you this, and Russia will still saying that they don't want peace, they don't want to stop bombing the cities, maybe then the United States will say, okay, so we did everything what we could, and now we need to run plan B.
Yeah.
So there is still hope in Ukraine, but our eyes, our ears are telling us that this
Right.
is not going to the right direction.
Understood. Now, in the last minute or so that we have left, Europe and the European Union has agreed on a fund to bolster its military manufacturing capability. And is redefining its commitment to Ukraine as for as long as it takes, or confirming that commitment. How would you describe the relationship between Ukraine and the European Union in the regard of military supplies?
So again, going back to the reason of the state and Machiavelli, the reason of the state for Europe is to stop Russia before they will get closer to our borders, to the Ukrainian countries' borders. And we know that the Baltic countries are in danger right now. They are preparing their military to defend from the eventual Russian attack. So what Europe is doing right now is helping Ukraine to help the Europe in the future, or to avoid actually Russia from coming to the European borders. Europe is one of the biggest partners right now for Ukraine, because in Ukraine a lot of people, and also I think the government, is preparing for the situation that the United States are quitting as the ally. So the Europe will be the last one to help and to protect Ukraine, and at the end their own borders.
Right.
So I think this is the reason of the state. Yeah.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Kaszuwara. Unfortunately, we have to end this here, but do come back and see us again soon. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that's all from this episode of World Talks. Goodbye for now.